My search for the best virtual reality basketball game is pretty short-lived at this point, but I'm very confident in saying that I found the best one out there. And no, it's not Hoops Madness. While I had some fun with it for my review, it's a better multiplayer game than it is a basketball game. The two most faithful virtual experiences of the sport are Gym Class and Blacktop Hoops, but after looking at both of them in depth, one stands out as the clear-cut winner, at least in my opinion. But before I get into which one, let's give each game some context. After posting my first VR basketball video, I asked which game I should try next, and a few of you told me that Gym Class was the way to go, so I added it to my video ideas list and moved on with my day. But weeks later, right as I was about to start playing it, Vinci Games contacted me and gave me early access to their upcoming release, Blacktop Hoops. First of all, huge thank you to them for doing that, I really appreciate it. And second, it's just early access. I'm not affiliated with them at all, and I'll be critiquing this just as I would anything else. But despite saying that, yeah, I have a lot of praise to give this game, because Blacktop Hoops is the best virtual reality basketball game I've ever played, and it's not close. Basketball is definitely one of the most difficult sports to make a virtual reality version of. Trying to program realistic ball physics, throwing mechanics, movement, and even AI to account for all of it just sounds like an absurd workload. In my Hoops Madness review, I stated that shooting was the most important thing for a VR basketball game to get down, and that's just not true. Yes, it's important, and it's even more so in a game where all you do is shoot, such as that one, but in a pickup style game such as this, movement, dribbling, and shooting are all equally important. No matter how good some of those aspects are, if just one is lacking, it's not a smooth experience, and therefore, it's not a fun game. But somehow, Blacktop Hoops manages to be at least acceptable in all three, while Gym Class doesn't really succeed at any of them. Both games handle movement in a very similar way. You move with the stick or by physically moving your body, which is to be expected. But in basketball, dribbling and movement go hand in hand, and one game excels at this, while the other, not so much. In Gym Class, you hold the ball with the grip, then can let go and continually slap it back to the ground to keep a dribble. But you can also grab it between bounces, which gives you slightly more control over it, and I will say, the bouncing physics are actually pretty realistic, but it's kinda to a fault. Since you're not physically moving forward in most cases, the ball will tend to lag behind. When you're standing in place it's just fine, but when combined with movement it's less than ideal. But luckily, you can move without dribbling without penalties, so it doesn't really get in the way, but it does take away a huge aspect of what makes basketball, basketball. And thankfully, Blacktop Hoops suffers no such issues. Once you grab the ball, you can let go of the button without it being dropped, but motioning toward the ground will cause it to fall, bounce, and gravitate back to your hand. It feels a lot less realistic, but it works way better in the given situation, since it makes the act of dribbling much less demanding and more controllable. Sure, it comes at the cost of interactiveness, but it makes it easier to manage and allows you to focus on faking out your opponent and setting up easy shots. The only real issue it faces is with precision. Since you're not clicking a button to grab the ball with a certain hand, it tends to pull to the wrong hand sometimes, which can really mess up some plays. You might try to do a simple front cross and it just won't, or you might try to dribble opposite of your opponent and go in for a dunk and it'll just go to the wrong hand and get stolen. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen a couple times in every game, so it can be annoying. But if you just accepted that sort of jank is inevitable, it's not frustrating. While it doesn't feel as realistic, the game understands that it's not real life and tries to best adapt all aspects of moving to the virtual reality realm, and it benefits the experience greatly. Additionally, you can hold the grip to speed up, which is absent in Gym Class, and the dribbling does not skip a beat when the speed changes. While neither is a perfect solution, Blacktop Hoops is a lot more seamless to play, and it feels like you can do way more with what's there. And with movement, both games have some sort of jump too, which means you're finally able to dunk. It's way more satisfying in Blacktop thanks to the sound and visual effects that go along with it, but it's alright in Gym Class too. In Blacktop, the A button does a small hop and pressing in the stick does a higher jump, and in Gym Class, you jump higher depending on how long you hold A before release. Both methods do their job and I can't complain, though it feels a lot more floaty in Gym Class, while Blacktop makes it feel like you have some actual weight. It's weird, because besides ground movement and dribbling, Gym Class feels less realistic in simulating just about every other aspect of the sport, and that includes shooting. To hold the ball, you have to press either the grip or the trigger, and to shoot, you just set your hands as normal, make a throwing motion, and release the button at the proper time, which should result in an accurate shot. Again though, Gym Class really misses the mark, and it's for something very small. It doesn't let you hold the ball with the trigger, only the grip. I appreciate the option for both when it's there, but I use the trigger for every other game like this, and it makes it feel super uncomfortable to shoot. I played for a solid amount of time and just could not get the hang of it. It's a real shame. It lets you adjust the angle of your hand and the throw power, but not the button, and as a result, shooting is straight up not fun. Blacktop Hoops, on the other hand, get it because you shoot with your hand, requires you to shoot with the trigger, which is a lot better, but since the grip is used to speed up, you don't have the option to change the button in this game either. But it's way more tolerable because the trigger is my button of choice and it feels way more like second nature, which allowed me to get a grasp of the shooting mechanics in almost no time. It's only worth noting for the small group of people who prefer the grip. As for the rest of us,
we do not care.
And bringing up your second hand as you're preparing to shoot makes your throw more precise, which is a really cool feature. Honestly, the shooting in this game is exactly what I want it to be, and I'd say it's at least on par with Hoops Madness in this regard, probably slightly better. It does take a fair amount of time to get used to doing everything in conjunction, but once you do, the possibilities are endless and it's an absolute blast. The same could be said about gym class as well, but the learning curve is much more steep. In any case, after acquiring the skills necessary to feel comfortable with all the game mechanics, what's there to do in each game? In gym class, there's a solo practice court that you can, shocker, practice on by yourself, but besides that, it's entirely centered around online play. There's no offline pickup games in any shape or form, which is a serious bummer. Like, come on. I don't want to jump into an online game right away, give me the chance to practice with some bots. But that's assuming that you can access the online matches. While the game is free, if you want to play actual games, you have to pay $10, which is kinda ridiculous. Sure, it's reasonable for a VR game, but making the app free and locking all the actual content behind a paywall is a pretty sketchy business practice in my eyes. I don't know. Just charge for the game if you have to. Don't fill it with in-app purchases, it's just misleading. The only other thing you can do for free is join an online lobby where you practice just like before, but with a bunch of loud little kids. Like, no thanks.
There's balls across the sky, bruh. Oh well.
I will say though, purchasing the full version unlocks some really quality offerings. Not only can you host private games to play with friends, but you can also play with random people, and there's built-in voice chat too. I found some pretty chill people on there, and we just screwed around for the 10-minute round. You can take it seriously and play as intended, but I found it more fun to just hang out, and that says a lot about the game. I can't crap on it too much though, because I did have a good time. But it had everything to do with the social aspect and nothing to do with the core basketball gameplay. Blacktop Hoops is quite the contrary, but it has the immediate advantage of containing no paywalls. It has a typical practice mode, a few training modes that help you improve certain aspects of your game, which is appreciated, and actual one-on-one games versus bots, and these are so much fun. The developers set out to make a VR spiritual successor to the old NBA Street games, and they went above and beyond achieving that. Not only is this the best street ball VR game, it's the best basketball VR game in general. All the gameplay mechanics are so tight and fluid on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, and there's an insane amount of potential for sick plays and crazy highlights. I'm not all that good at it yet, especially when plugged into a computer in my already small bedroom, but the potential is there, and it's such a good time every step of the way. There's only two downsides when it comes to the content of this game, and the first is that there's only one-on-one games, if you even consider that a downside. In gym class, there's an option for 3v3s and 2-on-2s, but the chances of you actually finding a game are slim to none, so you're playing one-on-ones in most cases anyways. The second downside is that there's no option for online play, which is made even worse by the fact that the hardest CPU difficulty isn't actually that hard to beat after a couple hours of play. I literally shut him out in 2 straight games, and as I said before, I don't even feel like I'm playing at a very high level. It's only a problem right now though, because this is still a beta version of this game, and an online multiplayer mode is in the works and will release sometime this summer, and when that happens, the competitive scene is gonna take off. However, as of right now, that's the one thing gym class has on this game, but the gameplay it provides inside online space doesn't really make it all too worthwhile. But keep in mind, both of these games are by no means finished products. That said, Blacktop Hoops shows far more promise overall and is the more fun option right now, even without the online multiplayer. I'd say gym class is the better social experience, at least until this summer, but Blacktop is the definitive basketball experience by a landslide. But don't take my word for it. Both games are free to play, besides the in-app purchases and gym class, but you can get a feel for both at no cost and draw your own conclusions. If you do end up doing that, let me know your take in the comments down below. If you're already convinced about how awesome this game is, just know it's only gonna get better, but the studio could definitely use some help from people like you and I. They've actually got a Kickstarter launching this summer, so if you want to see this project come into fruition, and have the means to of course, consider donating when the time comes. Or just join their Discord server for the game. You can share any improvements or ideas with them, or simply use it to find cool people to play with when that update drops. And of course, I'll be doing my best on this channel to keep you up to date on this project as it's added to, so be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another video like this. In the meantime, consider watching my Hoops Madness review, or check out my video on the latest update to 2MD VR Football Unleashed. Have a great rest of your day, I'll see you later.